Hello, Priestess Mamas. This is Dania Foster. I have a Bachelor of Health Science in Naturopathy, and I am an energetics therapist. So, today I'm going to talk to you about fueling for happiness. On our Priestess of Motherhood podcast today, we're going to be talking about your emotional, energetic, and nutritional fuel to make you find that elusive happiness chemical, serotonin. So, you can't manifest happiness if your body is starving. You can't vibe high if your mitochondria are breaking down, if they've got nothing left to give. So let's have a talk about that. There's so many women out there that are blaming themselves for feeling flat, feeling irritable, feeling unmotivated, for being stuck in cycles of depression. I know that I am one of them that thinks I just need to do more mindset work. I just need to do more meditation. And yeah, those things really important, but they are not the whole picture. So let's have a look into the chemicals that we need. Let's have a look into the rituals and energetics that we need to be able to get this to flow a bit easier for us. So, your happiness, it is a biochemical process, but it is also underlying energetics and emotions as well. We can't just look at one of them on its own. We can't just look at, oh, you're depressed. You need to balance your brain chemicals. Here is some serotonin in the form of SSRIs. Here you go. That's not going to be fixing the underlying issues, the root causes. And we can't just look at it from an energetics perspective either, which is why I ended up in this profession as a naturopath, is because when I was working as an energetics therapist on its own, a meditation guide, Reiki master healer, I was working with all of those energies and the shadow elements and thinking, we're not getting there with just this either. We needed to do some of the biochemical balance too to help bring that into alignment. We need a holistic approach for this. Okay. We've been taught so much. I know in the energetic space, it's taught so much about mindset when it comes to finding happiness, finding purpose, finding our inner drive and our connection to self. But it's not spoken about very often about the minerals that we actually need to make that biochemical reaction happen in our brains for us to actually process it and recognize it in our brains. So we need to talk about that. Okay. So your energy, whether that's like your vibe or the energy that your aura or your energy that you have. So you think, I don't have very much energy today. I don't feel very vitalistic today. I don't feel very active today. Same sort of thing, really. And we're not going to get more energy by hustling, okay? But I know that energy creates energy. So what do I mean by that? Is that sometimes when we push ourselves and push ourselves and push ourselves, that's the hustle culture. Sometimes it can make us feel energized, but sometimes it can make us feel really burnt out, especially if you've got the underlying emotional and energetic patterning built into your framework that you're not enough. You need to be constantly doing more. We've got people pleasing tendencies happening. If you've got those driving your hustle, you're probably going to be on the pathway to burnout. So that energy is not like that hustle energy is not going to help you create more energy. But when I say energy creates energy, I'm talking about vitalistic energy, nurturing and nourishing your aura of your energy, giving yourself more of that vitalistic space, and nourishment helps you to drive the energy of feeling vitalistic, feeling on top of things, and feeling motivated in your life. And that's where you say, I've got so much energy today. I feel like I've really nourished, I've really fueled myself with all of these things that make me feel good and make me feel strong and make me feel yeah, right, and better. So let's have a look at that. So, our food, we've been really nailed in. I know as a child of the 90s, I grew up with a lot of the calorie talk, but we didn't really get the story that our food is information for our body. Okay, so when we are feeding ourselves food, uh, it's sending different messages chemically into our body through our gut signaling and telling us how to feel in our bodies. So it's not just about calories. Yeah, calories can be important, but it's not the whole story. The different types of food quality and the different macronutrients and micronutrients that are included in that food, their overall nourishment is what is going to give our body the ability to transmute that into that energy, that vitalistic energy. So yeah, if we're constantly just eating those really highly processed, say carbohydrates, which was something that I got stuck in that cycle of just really living off the high energy, dense calorie foods without a lot of the micronutrients that we get from things like fruits and veggies and all of the fiber and everything that comes with that. Um, and missing a lot of that protein and fiber element and the good fats, we're not getting the full picture of information that our body needs to create those brain chemicals that I was talking about, our neurotransmitters like serotonin that gives us our happiness, or our dopamine that gives us our motivation and ability to keep showing up and keep trying. So we need to have food that is going to be meeting those targets. It's going to be giving us the protein that breaks down to all the different amino acid building blocks that build these neurotransmitters. And we need to have a gut system that's going to be able to do that, break down our meats and things like that without making us feel indigestion and sluggish digestive systems and things like that. We need to make sure we've got enough hydrochloric acid in our stomach to get that protein broken down. We need to make sure that we've got a gut wall that's able to hold that microbiome ecosystem that can do all of these bacterial processes within our microbiome. So all of these things are so important. And we get that from having a varied diet, really. So our food is information. It tells us so much about us. So we need to make sure that we're meeting our macronutrient goals. So our macronutrients are our carbohydrates, our fats, our proteins, and fiber is part of that carbohydrate picture as well. Making sure we've got the right macros coming in and micronutrients, making sure we've got all of the right levels of vitamins and minerals coming through our food, through our fruits and veggies, eating the rainbow so that we're getting all of the polyphenols that are feeding our microbiome and helping us to feel that thriving energy. It comes through from eating a varied diet. So our mitochondrial health is when we talk about our cells, when we talk about our cellular health, our mitochondrial health is so important and it can be the contributing factor to so much disease. Okay, if our mitochondria is not functioning well, then our little powerhouse of the cell, if you get those flashbacks when we talk about mitochondria, like I do, to that what's been drummed into us from like high school science is the mitochondria is the powerhouse of the cell. Yes, it is. Because if our mitochondria is not functioning, if our mitochondria is not getting the cellular support of the vital vitamins and minerals that it needs to optimize its job, then we're going to not be creating enough ATP, actual cellular energy, to be able to function on so many other levels. So we need to make sure we're feeding our cells. We need to make sure that our cells can respond to what's going on with the cellular input that it gets. And so from that, I'm pretty much just talking about blood sugar, right? Blood sugar is one of the biggest things that is going to impact our mood and our happiness and our levels of motivation or fatigue or anything that's going on. Blood sugar is so undervalued when we're talking about things like mood swings. Well, how is your blood sugar regulation? Are your cells responding when your pancreas sends insulin into the mix to say, hey, let's move some of this sugar out of the blood? Or is it not actually working anymore? Is it tired out? Is it just tired of beating its head against a brick wall and now it's just like whatever, deal with the sugar yourself? and that's causing those down the line problems? Do we need to help your cells to recognize insulin again, to become more sensitive to that so that it will start listening and opening that cell up to receiving the nutrients again? So we use some messenger supplements, things like, myo-inositol, a messenger to help move energy into the cells. We've got different ways to help speak to those cells and help them open up to this nourishment. Something that I think has been happening when our cells are closing down to that energy. Like if we think about this on an energetic perspective, not just physiological, is that our cells have become like they're not listening anymore. They're shutting down to receiving. So if our cells are shutting down to receiving that input of energy, that input of nourishment, why is that happening? Like energetically, emotionally? Have we like sent some subconscious messaging down to our cells through our own inner talk within our brains, within our minds, our self-talk that's telling ourselves like, I'm not good enough to receive energy anymore. I'm not good enough to receive nourishment. I'm not worthy of this. And I think that that's a lot of the underlying energies that I see when I'm talking to people that are struggling with things like insulin resistance, is that they're resistant to receiving that ability to nourish and transmute and move that energy into their cells. So it is implementing the training of the energy system, the body's energetics, and to be able to feel worthy of receiving that support energetically and cellular as well. Making sure we've got the right B vitamins coming through and that our body knows how to actually process them. There is a lot of talk going on about the MTHFR gene mutations. And when we have those gene mutations coming in, our body can be either slow or too fast. It's just not regulating how our body is metabolizing these or activating these types of vitamins. And so therefore we might get a buildup or we might get like a backlog, and we're not able to convert them to their usable forms as fast or as too fast in some situations. And so we get this dysregulation, and that can create things like anxiety or depression and slowness, fatigue. It can go lots of different ways. It's a very individualistic process, but we need to have a look at that and consider these pathways for you. Things like magnesium balance. If you're in states of high stress, not only are you going to be burning through your B vitamins because your body's trying to do so many cellular processes to keep your stress signals up, but you're also going to be burning through your vitamin C, which feeds your adrenals. You're going to be speeding through your magnesium levels, okay, which is so vital for every cellular function. So we need to get you on the right form of magnesium that's going to be bioavailable and helping you to feel calm, helping you to relax, making sure that you've got a great level. Like I love magnesium glycinate for if we're feeling irritable, moody, anxiety, these different mental presentations. Magnesium combined with glycinate in that form is such a nourishing chemical soother for our brain, to help us to feel relaxed, to help us to feel at ease within ourselves. And the other part of our nourishment is things like healthy fats, things like omega-3s. I don't think that a lot of us are eating the amount of salmon and omega-3 type fish that we need to get those sort of levels. So are you taking a supplement that is supportive for your goals around that? Or are you getting the right levels of that coming through your body? Because there's different things that balance that out. So the omega pathways need to be balanced to make sure that you're not sending too much down the wrong pathway, which can then lead into inflammation pathways. Things like grains and stuff like that can be competing for your omega-3 fatty, healthy fat pathways. And we need our omega-3s to help to eliminate any inflammation systemically. This is what's coming through with our achy joints and our achy brains and all of these things. We get inflammation can be a huge contributor to depression. So having a good level of omega-3 in your diet or a high quality supplement that is coming from high quality reserves of fish or algae that is not high in heavy metals, that those things need to be tested and checked. And a lot of off-the-shelf omega-3s can be quite rancid if they're not coming from a high quality supplier. So making sure that you've got a really good supplier of your omega-3s coming through can really be supportive of having inflammation in your body and systemically through to neuroinflammation, a big contributor to depression. So this is talking about that physiological fuel, the nutritional fuel that you need to help your brain to function. Okay, so when your body is fed all of the right macronutrients, micronutrients, getting all of those vital vitamins and nutrients that it needs to make all of those chemical processes flow easily, then your brain and your body can feel safe. Okay, so this is why physiologically we need to make sure that your physical nutrition and your nourishment is not, you're not only feeding yourself the right things, but we also need to make sure that your gut can actually digest them, break them down into usable parts. This is why things like your stomach acid needs to be addressed, and we can have a look at that symptomatically, chatting about what's going on and how your digestion feels. If you've got reflux, if you've got indigestion and things like that, we can have a look at your level of stomach acid and see if your body is actually able to break down the foods that you're eating to get to those vital building blocks. And then we look at things like your absorption. This is a big one for things like iron. If you're in a state of inflammation, your body's going to put up walls to block the absorption of things like iron. If you've got your balance right, things like calcium and potassium and all of these different nutrients need to be balanced to keep your stress levels in alignment with your adrenals. They're all interconnected. Okay, so looking at your gut, are you able to absorb them? Is your gut wall, your mucosa, in a space that is healthy enough to absorb these nutrients? Or is it inflamed? Is it deteriorating because of food intolerances, of inflammation within your body? All of these things need to be working well. We need to have a really diverse microbiome because there's lots of different individual factories, different strains of probiotics or bacteria within your gut that have got different jobs to do that help your body to thrive. So if we don't have any of those functioning factories happening, if we're missing big colonies of bacteria, then we're going to really struggle to create things like serotonin when 90% of your serotonin is made in your gut. Okay, we've really got to have your gut on board. And that's that gut brain axis that I talk a lot about, making sure our gut's working so then our brain can work optimally. So there's lots of different things that we need to have systems to make sure that it's not just about the food that you're putting into your body to nourish yourself and fueling yourself with that nutrition, but making sure your body can optimize that fuel and the systems are going to actually be able to use it. Okay. Our emotions are a lot easier to process when our body is working physiologically. So when we're getting that on board, our emotions are a lot easier to work through. If we are stuck in cycles of depression or anxiety or mood swings and our body's not working well, we're either living in chronic pain from systemic inflammation or we've got gut issues or hormonal imbalances. These types of things are a lot harder to deal with your emotions on top of that physiological stress. So we need to be able to work with both. So let's look at the different emotional fuels. So you're not going to be able to access your joy or your pleasure that's actually fueling your body to feel good if you're running on cortisol. That's your stress hormone. It comes from your adrenals, from your adrenal overload. So we need to be able to get your cortisol under control. You can have a look through a few past episodes on how to regulate your cortisol naturally using things like lifestyle practices, food. Another thing that we need to get your nourishment on track first, sleep, regulation through with your circadian rhythms. Such a good way to uh, regulate your cortisol patterns as well, and herbal and nutritional supplementation. So we need to get your cortisol levels in alignment. We need to be able to let you access joy and access pleasure. Our joy and our pleasure are gateways to nourishing and stimulating our fuel for our body to feel happy, that happiness. We need to be able to access that. We need to be able to access our libido, and all of those things are blocked by your cortisol if it's out of alignment. So let's talk about some herbal support. We can get things on board with herbs to help us to nudge our systems in the right direction. Now, don't get me wrong, I love herbal support, but it is not a root cause solution because we can help nudge our body back from stress or from anxiety or from anger or frustration or anything like that. But if we're not dealing with the underlying emotions, they're not going to stay. That's not going to be a long-term solution. So they're there to help build the bridge to get you to a space where you can actually process your emotions, but they're not the only thing that you can do. So you do need to do the deeper work from that as well. If we just rely on the herbs, we're going to be on them for a really long time because they can't just do the whole thing on their own. They need you to step up, but they build the bridge and make it a lot easier for you to process your emotions and the different stories and patterns that may be going along with your presentations. So we can look at nervines. Herbal nervines are a tonic that work on the nervous system to help you to feel relaxed. They will work on the brain space, they work on the vagus nerve to help to release nervous tension. So things like passion flower, oat straw, lemon balm, really beautiful nervines that help you to release that pressure and feel a bit more restful within your body. Adaptogens. Herbal adaptogens help you adapt to stress. So we can look at that from a physiological perspective. If you're under physiological stress, maybe your body's not able to shut down to sleep because you've got so much stress cycling through your mind. And you've got a mental stress as well because you've just constantly worrying about so many things. So if you've constantly go, 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 physiologically in your body or in your brain, adaptogens are a really good way to help you to build resilience within your adrenals, build resilience within your nervous system to cope with the stress that's on your plate. So I like to prescribe adaptogens for people who are dealing with a lot on their plate. And it's not as simple to just say, oh, remove stress from your life. Like, oh, well, if I remove all these stresses, then who else is going to do it? Like everything's going to fall apart if I don't do these things. So I have to keep up with this. I have to keep going. Otherwise, everything's going to fall down around me and then things are going to be a hell of a lot worse. So yeah, adaptogens are for helping you to keep going, helping you to hold the load whilst we build rituals and boundaries and practices like nourishment that helps you to build a framework of support around you so that you're not going to collapse into burnout. So adaptogens help us to build and increase our resilience to stresses. Nervines are helping us to feel relaxed in our body and help us to, tone the emotional body to feel more at ease. Makes it a bit easier for us to deal with a lot of other things that are going on as well. So that feels like your emotional fuel. So I think it's really important that we allow ourselves to feel our joy, feel our pleasures, recognize our desires that we want, recognize what it is that we want and what it is that makes us feel good. I'll talk about this in another episode when we can delve into it a bit deeper. But find what it is that makes us feel strengthened emotionally. And do more of that. So, what is activating you to make you feel really restored? I've got this aura ring. Let me tell you a story. I got this aura ring, and it tells me when I'm in a state of stress or when I'm in a state of engagement, that I'm like thinking and I'm on board. Or if I'm in relaxation, I'm just pretty chilled, or if I'm restoring my energy. So if you're in a space of stress, like you, and I'll do peaks up into stress at different points of my day. But you don't want to stay up there constantly. But what mine looks like is a bit of a peak into stress, and then it will drop back down, mostly in the engaged and relaxed spaces most of the day. But if you peak into stressed mode, you need to recover from that by giving yourself time to move into that restoration space. So I'll share with you like the times in my day when I get into that restoration space is when I allow myself time to lay in bed and read my book, because I love my books. And I noticed the other day when I was leading the homeschool book club that after all of the kids, and I'm mostly in the engaged space for most of that time, because I'm like interacting with people and on in my brain. But then once the kids had all done their sharing and we'd managed all of their circle, and then they went off and played. Then it was the adults' time, and I said, "Well, would we like to do a book share about what we've been reading?" And I noticed that my aura ring indicated that I actually dropped into a space of restoration whilst I was sharing about the book that I was reading, because this is like one of my favorite things is like that special interest. And when you are able to talk about your interests, and for me, if I'm able to drop into and share my interests, drops me into that restoration space where I'm actually restoring my nervous system. It's that relaxing and rejuvenating for me to delve into my interests. So you need to allow space. This is emotional fuel for you to drop down into these things that you really love. Find what you love and make space for it. So many of the women that I'm talking to, and this happened to me for years, is that I didn't allow myself time to read because I thought that I was wasting my time. I should be more on, and I got more things to do. You should be doing folding that washing, not laying next to the pile of it and reading your book. Like, but if I don't allow my self that space for my emotional fuel, that 20 minutes to read a chapter of a book or whatever it might be, then I'm going to burn out and I'm not going to do anything, because I'm going to crash into a cave of depression and no motivation, no purpose, and think, who the fuck am I? I hate my life. Like all of these things that I will spiral into if I don't allow myself restoration time. And reading a lovely little fantasy book is going to drop me back into that. And so find what makes you feel happy, find what makes you feel restored and rejuvenated in your energy if you are somebody who can feel like that, and give yourself that space without guilt, because I can guarantee that once you've done that, you're going to feel so much more energy because it's giving you emotional fuel to do the harder things, like get through that pile of washing that you have to fold and put away. That's my take on the emotional fuel, is that we need to allow space for joy and pleasure, or we're just going to keep running on cortisol. And remember what I said at the beginning, we don't create energy through the hustle. We create the energy by delving into the nourishment and the vitalistic energy. Okay. If you're hustling on your passion, it's probably going to be fueling you and restoring you. I know that when I'm working and when I'm recording these podcasts, I drop into my restoration state as well, because this is my soul work. And this is what I love doing. When I'm in a consult with somebody, I drop into my restoration space. So when I'm finished work, although my brain's really tired because I've been doing lots of thinking and connecting patterns and dots and patterns and systems and things like that, but I feel really, really at peace within myself and within my energy, because I've been doing something that I'm really passionate about. So I'm really, really an advocate for you finding what your passions are and spending time with them. So let's talk about our energetic fuel. Next thing. Energetic hygiene, energetic fuel. So our our happiness, if we're talking about for happiness, our fueling for happiness, requires boundaries, requires rest, requires silence, requires nature, lots of different things. These are things that I relate to. There's probably a whole bunch of things that we could delve into with you if we got your individual stories and what gives you happiness. But that's what I need. Um, so we need to create energetics systems that support us to have that framework to keep the boundaries. So this is when we talk about like masculine and feminine energy types coming together and holding that space. Because the feminine is the joy and the pleasure and the intuition and allowing yourself to drop into that restorative space. And the boundaries and the framework is the masculine energy that holds the space for this to occur. So our boundaries are our masculine energy holding safety for us to lean more into our feminine space of energy. Allows us to feel that pleasure. We need both of them to create happiness. And this is why I always say that it all has to come in balance. Whatever comes through our feminine energy needs the masculine energy to hold the space. I've got these two flower essences on my desk here. Divinely Feminine. It's a spray for my deeper connection and connecting with my intuition, and it helps me to enhance my creativity. But I've got a spray right next to it that's about boundaries and space holding and clearing what doesn't belong. We need both of those to stay in balance, and that's the masculine and the feminine of our energetics hygiene. So, yes, we need the energetics of our pleasure. We also need the energetics of our boundaries, creating boundaries for rest, creating boundaries for space, for our silence and our own contemplation. So, how are you creating those energetic boundaries? How are you releasing what you don't need anymore? This could be as simple as an end of the day shower, that you use that shower, that energy to cleanse. You can, we do this in the Priestess of Motherhood mentorship, is attuning you to Reiki energy to be a conduit of divine source, of universal source energy. You can become the channel and asking to clear yourself in that shower every night of anything that doesn't belong to you, any energy that you've picked up, or thoughts and things like that that you've taken on that don't belong with you anymore. Allowing yourself that space at the end of the day. You might like to have a candlelight shower to bring those energies back in and create a little ritual for you at the end of the day to release what you don't need. Holding a boundary for that, it might be setting a timer on your phone that it goes off at a certain time when you get to switch off and say, this is time for me to have my shower now, do my little cleansing ritual, and then I'm going to pop into bed and do my reading time. And just creating that space for you to hold what makes you feel joy. That's how I do it. Creating space in your rhythm, in your daily or weekly rhythms for silence and alone time. So this could be your sacred stance in the morning, rising before everybody else, even if you don't get out of bed, even if you just wake up before everybody else and take some time to breathe, to anchor into your daily affirmations, your manifestation statements, your prayer for the day, your connection to source energy, your divine source guidance, journal, meditate, put on some music in your headphones if you have kids sleeping around you. But taking that space in your morning ritual is an energetic boundary, energetic hygiene, creating what you need from that. So this is all of the things that are contributing to that energetic fuel for your day that help you to move into your days feeling restored and happy and rejuvenated. So what do you need to get that to happen? What do you need to make these things happen? So you might want to try these 3 anchoring processes. You can implement these into your sacred starts in the morning if you'd like to. You don't even have to get out of bed for this. You can just wake up, grab your journal from your bedside table, and write these 3 questions out. First off, what do I need to feel fed? What do I need to feel fed? And you can take this as a physiological need, as in, I have got these nutritional goals. I need to make sure I'm doing this, and then I will feel nourished. It might be that you're on a supplement treatment plan, that you need to do these things to optimize your gut health, to repair, to balance, to heal, whatever it is that your goals are, your intentions and your healing. What do you need to feel fed? What do you need to feel that you're receiving that nourishment into your body? And it could be emotionally fed. It could be energetically fed. It could be mentally fed. Like, do you need to be digesting some information and learning and researching and feeling involved with something to feel that you're feeling fed? You're feeling that you're being fed that fuel that keeps you going. What keeps you going? The second question that you can write down is, what do I need to feel held? This is what supports you. Okay. What do you need to feel held? Do you need to voice something? Do you need to share something with a safe person in a safe space? That could be in consult with me as your naturopath, talking through some things that have come up through your shadow self while you were journaling or while you were in the shower doing that cleansing. You think, oh, I've got this thing that I picked up and I can't seem to let it go. What do you need to feel held? A safe space, a community, a time with a friend, a phone call, just being able to ask somebody to help you. Okay, saying, hey, can you take the kids for me for the day so that I can just process some things? I need some alone time. That also weaves into the third question. What do I need to feel free? What do I need to feel free? What do you need to let go of? What's tying you down? Those could be things that come out from that question. Because if you've got some things that are burdening you or holding you back, then you're not going to be feeling free from that. So I need to release these things. I need more time to do what is it that makes you feel free? I need more time to do this. I need more freedom to do this. I need more space. I need a dedicated zone for this. I need dedicated time for this. What makes you feel free? Have a think about these three things in the morning and create a little sacred start where you maybe wake up and do that straight away if you don't want to get up and try and move around the day. Or perhaps you need to get up and move your body straight away. So jump up and take yourself on a walk or something if you're able to, and allow yourself to ponder these questions while you're moving your body. Or maybe you just need to get up and have a nice warm drink, something that's going to stimulate your body, like a lovely ginger-based tea or bitters or something like that that's going to get your body activated. Do you need a playlist to help you connect in with yourself? This is what I talked about in my last session. I've got a playlist that I made that's just all the songs that remind me of me. And I'll put that on when I want to connect back into what makes me feel like me, what makes me feel fed. Like that's that emotional fed. I'm feeling fed from all of this joy, this pleasure. And I'm feeling held by this music because it's really expressing where I feel deep inside, and I feel free when I listen to it. So that's connecting back with the music we were talking about last time. And of course, journaling. Journaling is another little ritual that I find so valuable to be able to connect and bring awareness to your own patterns and your own processing and what's really moving through you deep inside. So if you're ready to stop surface level care, just trying to do this or that and piecing it all together on your own, and you really want that holistic support to bring it all together, if you want someone to help you rebuild your energy and really nourish you on a physiological, that nutritional, physiological systems base, but also the emotional and the energetic space, then I invite you to connect with me. I would love to hold you through this, whether you want to jump into my Priestess of Motherhood mentorship, the 6 months of moving through all the elements, through we do gut testing, hair tissue mineral analysis to make sure that all of your systems are communicating and optimized and balanced. Or you want to just start with just an initial consult. Book a connection call and we can have a chat about what's going to suit your needs best from where you're at. Okay, I want to meet you where you are and what you're ready for. And we can just get started and see how I can best help you. So I invite you to comment if you on this podcast if you've enjoyed listening to me, if you've enjoyed my stories and how I my philosophy on how we go about this. Jump onto my Instagram and send me a message there or write a comment in one of my posts. I'd love to hear from you if you've enjoyed this. Share it with a friend. Um, I have so much love for you and I'm really excited to connect with you. So please let me know if you've heard this episode. And lots of love, and I'll talk to you again really soon. Bye.